Michael Moyes, and welcome to our open house. I'm a student advisor here at Berklee Music, the online division of the Berklee College of Music, and this is the third open house this term. We've been doing these for several terms now, and we'll be continuing to do that. So we're going to have about 15 minutes of conversation with myself and our mystery guest, who you'll learn about in a second. And then we'll have 15 minutes or so of question and answers. We usually do a little bit less than that, but I think you guys are going to have a lot of questions for him today. So keep the questions coming throughout the presentation so that we can get as many as we can at the end. My guest is someone that you probably know. Maybe you've taken classes with him before, Mike King. He was the marketing and product manager at Rykodisc, where he oversaw marketing efforts for a huge number of label artists, including Mickey Hart, Morphine, Jess Klein, Voices on the Verge, Bill Hicks, one of my favorites, The Slip, who's a local Boston group from a while ago, and Frank Zappa's Estate, and many more. Mike was also formerly director of marketing and managing editor at artisthousemusic.org. Now, for Berklee, Mike has been an instructor for quite a while and an author who is highly regarded by both students and his peers. Just this last year, I think, he was recognized as the best music business teacher by the National Association of Record Industry Professionals, NARIP, which was a really big deal. He's written 3 online courses with us with extremely long titles.
That's true.
Online music marketing with Topspin, music marketing, press promotion, distribution, and retail, and online music marketing, campaign strategies, social media, and digital distribution.
SEO friendly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Very SEO friendly. He also teaches the future of music in the music business class with us online for Berklee Music. And his book with the same title of the second class, Music Marketing, Press Promotion, Distribution, and Retail, published by Berklee Press in 2009. So let's get started with a couple questions.
The Slip are still around, by the way. They're now the Bar Brothers, and they were just on Letterman maybe 3 weeks ago.
No way, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an artist as well. I do all kinds of different music, and I'm sure plenty of you are artists as well. So we write a lot of songs, and one question that we often get as advisors, and I'm sure you get them in your classes, is what's the best way to get my music out there? Should I post it on Facebook, SoundCloud? What's the best place to put my music?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer this kind of abstractly maybe. There was a really smart guy named James Lamberti who put it to me like this a couple of years ago. So I worked at a label, and back in the day, the idea is that there were tens of outlets affecting millions of people. So back in the day, you'd be, a label would be working with commercial radio, a label would be working with MTV, or a label would be working with major press outlets, like defined kind of larger things that had a group of people that are associated with them, right? So the quote is, back in the day, or the quote rather is, we've gone from an era where there are tens of outlets affecting millions of people to an era where there are millions of outlets affecting tens of people. I really like that idea, and it's from James Lamberti. I don't know if he made it up or he got it from somewhere else. So for me, how to get your music out there, it's to start, it's about niche marketing. It's about finding very particular outlets that work for you, right? Because you think about it, there's millions and millions of bands that are trying to get out there, So how do you break through? And it's about finding these pockets of people that really align with your values, align with your music, People that do this really well. Ani DeFranco does it really well, She kind of parachutes into a group of people that already exist, and Seth Godin talks about this, in his book called Tribes. Dave Matthews does it really well. There's a lot of bands that do that really well, where they've identified pockets of people and they've kind of dropped in there. So from a very big scale idea, and this isn't to say that the way that labels operate is not of value. If you're a commercial, if you're signed to a label and your hope is to become an international pop superstar, right? Label's the way to do that. But for the vast majority of artists, I think a better approach is to really target certain niches, certain areas, and try to affect people, try to find these pockets of people and get them very specifically interested in your music. And that's a whole long answer. How do you get these people interested? I mean, one example is, so say you are an artist and you've identified a band that might be at a little bit of a higher level than you. You can use Google Blog Search. Check out that band, right? So say, the Bar Brothers or the Slip. Who's talking about the Slip? Google Blog Search. Look at all of these different outlets, right? Through Google Blog Search, and then kind of do some research. What other things are these outlets talking about? What other bands? Can you pull out some traits that these people share and put that into your marketing plan? So there's that level of it. And then you talked about, should you use SoundCloud? Should you use Facebook? Like that sort of thing. For me, the answer is yes to that. But I think I'm not going to say almost, I think more importantly is getting your own site together. Right. So you want a dedicated place that you can completely control. And the marketing idea behind it is there's a conversion funnel. So if you're out here working with these niche outlets, talking about your music or getting them to, getting these people to talk about your music, you're trying to drive them somewhere to convert them, to get a better relationship happening. It's about permission marketing. It's about finding a group of people and then communicating with them in more of a one-on-one basis. And this just wasn't possible 10 years ago. Direct-to-fan existed a long time ago. You look at the book, This Band Could Be Your Life, and you look at Black Flag. Those guys were connecting with fans, like from the stage. I mean, they were, there was that. But the tools that exist right now online are really robust. There's more happening all the time that you can really use to market in a very specific way, as opposed to the labels where they have kind of a shotgun marketing approach, what's called like a push marketing approach. You can have more of a pull approach, a very specific relationship with somebody. So the key is finding those people, getting your website together, converting those people. One way, and when I say converting, it's trying to get a permission-based contact from people.
So an email address?
Like an email address, right. Yeah. Permission-based contact. Again, this comes from Seth Godin's book, Permission Marketing, from 1999. So this stuff isn't all that new, but the tools have kind of popped up recently that are really helpful. So if you have your site together, how do you best articulate what you're doing first? Streaming your music, a video, whatever, right on the homepage, as few quick clicks as possible. And then how do you get an email address? How do you get some point of permission-based contact? So there's different tools you can use to grab those, an email address, or to get somebody's, somebody to retweet you, like that sort of. There's different tools you can use, tweet for a track, and like that sort of thing, and different companies that create these things. But I think it does come down to amassing a bunch of people that you can then communicate with, that they've given you permission to communicate with them, as opposed to working with a third party where the goal is that this third party will talk about you. You know what I mean? I think for me, that's a better approach, trying to reach people directly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know someone who's been doing this pretty successfully, our friend Liam McCormick with Yellowbird, who's done some really cool permission-based marketing stuff. I don't know if you've seen the latest one called Photographed, where he's accepting photographs from people and offering to write songs for them.
Yeah, that's great. Just, that's a perfect way. There's kind of the little verticals that I look at when I'm doing marketing. What I kind of judge, how I judge my success is, how am I doing with awareness? How am I doing with engagement? How am I doing with acquisition, getting these permission-based contacts? And then finally, how am I doing with monetization, right? So what you're describing with Liam it's a really good way to engage with your fans, And there's tons of, I know a lot of people that, and this is really good for Facebook. We talk about Facebook later, but, they take a photo from the stage, and they post that photo on Facebook, and they're like, hey, if you're in this photo, tag yourself. And that kind of starts this thing happening, engagement, So I think Liam's doing a really good job with engagement with that campaign. I think it's really smart.
Mm-hmm. You brought up monetizing a little bit. Most of what we've talked about so far is, developing that relationship, but a lot of how we get that relationship is giving things away for free.
Yeah.
Is it reasonable to think that, if I give my music away for free, that I am gonna get some kind of a financial return someday?
Yeah. So that's a big question. So when you say give away something for free, I think the best way to do it is when it's like an equal exchange. I don't consider giving a track away in exchange for an email address, just giving away something for free. You're exchanging. There's something happening there. For me, that's the best way to do it. Get something in exchange for your media or for your track. And I think, broadly speaking, there's a band that did this really, really well. And the manager of that band is going to be speaking at Berkeley in a couple weeks, Matt Druin, right? So he ran, he manages Metric, he ran their campaign called Fantasies, their last record, and it was so brilliant. And what he would do is, if you picture a timeline, very strategically, he was dropping off different bits of content throughout the course of the campaign, you know? So he would have something pre-release. Hey, here's an acoustic version of what's going to be our single. What do you guys think, you know? And the ability to judge response is great, too. That's really valuable, you know? So we could talk about data, but there's all sorts of data you can get if you're using these different widgets to give away media for an email. So Matt Druin, timeline, you know, say here's pre-release, here's the release of the record, you know, and here's post-release. He was doing bits of content all throughout, right? So it's raising awareness, you know, that's what it's doing. So I do think it helps. There's this quote, I think it's from Tim O'Reilly, where it says, "The curse of the developing artist is anonymity, not piracy." You know, so you think about that quote, and I do think it's very valuable to, you know, to make yourself known, to give out tracks, you know, but I don't think it's all about, hey, I'm going to give it all for free, you know. Like, I still, to this day, I can, you know, there are certain artists where they're like, hey, here's my music, right? But they don't know me, they don't know, they don't get an email from me, so the relationship is over. I might go back, right? But I kind of forget about them. There's so much to be aware of these days. There's so much media, so much. So if that band could then connect with me later, it's like, hey, you got that track? You know what? Now we got the EP together, or now we got the full length. You know, so it's about getting that email and then communication, and kind of like, this is probably a super lame metaphor, but it's, to me, it's almost like, it's like dating, right? So there's the monetization part, is like end goal, you know, but there's a lot to be said about the relationship, about you know, getting, you know, comfortable with your fans and letting your fans know. It's, you know, kind of the warming process, you know, to use like a marketing term, you know. So keeping in contact with folks and not automatically saying, buy this, you know.
Right.
There's you know, providing content, providing incentives, you know. And every company does this. This isn't just not a music thing. I mean, think about anybody. It's giving away free samples or you know, that sort of thing. It's not just for... Sometimes I feel that the innovation in the music industry comes from people outside of the music industry. Like Matt Druin, I think he was interested in real estate before he got into music. So there's a lot of ideas that are coming into the music industry from outside of the music industry that maybe have existed previously, but like music industry is just kind of getting comfortable with it, you know?
So a lot of people that do these things and drive a lot of fans to their websites, and they have these relationships that they're fostering, you know, they don't get signed or picked up, and they feel stagnant's not really the right word, but they want more. What's the next move? Touring or hiring somebody for PR?
So that's interesting. So it's kind of like how you measure success, right? There are people that think that a label deal is a stamp of approval. I've made it, you know?